If you had an ice dam during the last storm and didn't see water inside, it's natural to think you avoided damage. No stains, no drips, no wet drywall. That feels like a win. But ice dams don't work on a visible damage timeline. They change how water moves across the roof, how long it sits in contact with materials, and where it's able to go. And that can matter even when nothing shows up right away. This isn't about assuming the worst. It's about understanding what ice dams actually do, and why the absence of visible damage doesn't always tell the full story. Under normal conditions, melting snow drains off a roof quickly. Ice dams interrupt that. They create a physical barrier that traps water upslope. Instead of moving off the roof, meltwater pools behind the ice. That water doesn't need an obvious opening. It only needs time. As it sits, it's pushed under shingles, past fasteners, and into layers that aren't designed to stay wet. This happens slowly, and often quietly, which is why the damage timeline doesn't always match the storm that caused it. When water enters a roof assembly, it doesn't always announce itself. Insulation can absorb moisture. Wood can hold it. Cold weather can slow drying to a crawl. So even if water made it inside the assembly, it may not reach a visible surface right away. That's why ice dam damage often shows up weeks or months later, or during a different season entirely. Not because the problem started late, but because it took time to become visible. Saying we didn't have a leak feels definitive, but it's not a diagnosis. Leaks are a symptom, not a measurement of what happened inside the assembly. Water can enter and remain hidden, especially during cold periods when drying is limited. So the real question after an ice dam isn't, did I see damage? It's, did water have a chance to get where it shouldn't? That's a different question, and it leads to different conclusions. When moisture stays trapped inside building assemblies, it creates conditions. Conditions for reduced insulation performance. Conditions for material degradation. Conditions that can eventually support mold or rot. None of that happens overnight. Ice dams don't cause instant failure. They increase the odds that moisture ends up where it doesn't belong, and stays there longer than it should. Ice dams are treated like weather events, something that happened to the house. But they're actually responses to how the house handles heat and moisture. Once the ice melts and spring arrives, attention shifts elsewhere. If nothing looks wrong, the event gets mentally closed. That's how moisture problems get separated from their cause. Not because people are careless, but because the signals don't arrive all at once. A better question after an ice dam is simpler and more useful. Where did water have time to sit? How long was it there? And what layers were exposed to it? Those questions don't assume damage. They acknowledge uncertainty. That's the difference between hoping you got lucky and actually understanding the risk. Ice dams don't guarantee damage, but they don't guarantee safety either. They're a signal that water behaved differently than intended. Understanding that difference helps you avoid surprises later, when the connection to winter storms is easy to miss. Building science explains it. Applied correctly, it fixes it. This is Passive House for the People.